Hi and welcome to the Ruby... Blah. I don't know what happened. Hi and welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben.
And I'm Kay.
Today we are reviewing The Kingsman.
One man must race against time to stop history's worst tyrants and criminal masterminds as they get together to plot a war that could wipe out millions of people and destroy humanity.
So we've had Vince Vaughn direct The Kingsman 1 and 2. I am a massive fan of the first film, not so much the second one. I was very excited to see the prequel, but we've seen it and we have thoughts.
I didn't watch any trailers. I had no idea other than the fact that it was a prequel to The Kingsman. I was expecting a film much more in the style of the two Kingsman films, which is quite tongue-in-cheek, lots of sort of suave action scenes. If James Bond was an aristocrat kind of way of fighting or whatever.
Oxford knocks bros.
But instead, what we got was an interesting film. Kind of some of the historical figures surrounding the First World War, the sort of aristocratic families involved. Got your Rasputin, you've got the Tsar Nicholas. This is an interesting take on what might have been happening behind the scenes. Obviously, it's not historical fact. I can't put my finger on why I didn't love this film. I feel like maybe it wasn't entirely sure what it was. It didn't fit in necessarily with the genre of the other two films. And I get that it's an origin story. It's a prequel. It's how did the Kingsman come to be? And so it needed to have quite an epic tale, but it had a much darker, much more real kind of vibe to it. The other films were much more escapist, not really reality kind of films. This one hit you with a little bit too much reality at times.
Yeah, I think for some people that are going and expecting The Kingsman, or even The Kingsman 2, which got sillier than the first, I think you're going to be sorely disappointed because there are definitely action sequences that are excellent. They're
amazing.
Brilliant. There's one that will stand out to you. I'm not going to spoil it and say who it's with. I'm just saying that there's one that we were like, yeah, man, I wish the rest of the film was like this. But the first half of the film really does take its time in showcasing what it's trying to showcase, I guess, like trying to really kind of show you what World War One was like, and the family dynamics surrounding that. Every sort of family, especially English aristocrats that had family units that would send their sons into war, or what they would experience, that they're really showcasing. The first half of the film kind of goes into what it was feeling like, and the battle that surrounds. And I don't mean the actual battles, I mean the battle with family within that. It reminded me of films like The Patriot, with Mel Gibson, where he had experienced war himself and he definitely didn't want his sons to go and do the same thing. You have the same sort of tension that builds up, and I was surprised by how much of the film takes place in that storyline before we actually get to the proper, I guess, Kingsman origins. Really, the latter half of the film is the origin story. So I guess they're trying to get you to care about the characters. And I have to say, I didn't really care about any of the characters. I liked some of them. I was upset and shocked. I think there was more of a shock value of certain storytelling devices or plot points that they were willing to go, because like, this is the shock moment, you weren't expecting this, therefore we're a smart, clever film. And I'm not sure that's the case. I liked the acting, and I liked the martial arts, like the hand-to-hand sort of combat. Not really martial arts, it's like sort of mixed military Krav Maga, just using your surroundings and being really smart with it. It's like it's playing chess but physical. I like that. Like how
smart fighting.
Yeah, smart fighting. I think that's what was always very interesting to me about Kingsman. When the guy walked into the room, he calculated exactly what was going to happen. Using your umbrella because you're cool like that. Locking the door. You would say the cool lines, and walk out, and everybody would be on the floor, and you wouldn't have ruffled your coat, sort of thing. You don't really get that in this. Everybody comes off a little bit disheveled. And that, I think that goes back to what you were saying. It's a very more realistic look at what actually would happen. And so if you're going in thinking Kingsman, you're gonna be disappointed, because this is a prequel of where there weren't really Kingsmen yet. It's really the starting of the organization. And that is fun to see how it came about. It's just not the film I wanted.
Yeah. So it's a really good film. It's really well put together. It's great. The acting is great. The sets are great. Costumes are great. Lighting's great.
The caliber of the cast as well. You can't argue with the people that they've put in those positions. Certain people that are certain key figures, like who's Rasputin, fantastically casted. Ralph Fiennes obviously shines on screen. There's moments that you're like, oh, I can see why they've chosen that person to play that person. Djimon Hussein, I always get his name wrong because it's a tricky one, but he's phenomenal. It just didn't jump off the screen for me. I was bored in some of it, and that's not something that I say lightly when it comes to a Kingsman film, because I was just like, even during the action sequences, like, yes, but this is not where I was expecting it to go. This is not really what I wanted for the film. This is not even how I wanted this film to go with those characters. I somehow always expected more. And then you also get the classic cliche moments of, this feels like an old Bond film, especially the latter half of the film. It feels like I'm the villain for the sake of being a villain. The villain really doesn't have a very good background story. He might as well be wearing a monocle and stroking a cat. In fact, there is a henchman that has a monocle. That is like, yes, Mr. Bond, or Gadget, I'll get you next time, Gadget. It felt like that sort of silliness, but it's a serious film, which is a very odd juxtaposition to have in this film. I miss the banter. That's one of the biggest thing I love about the quirkiness. The Colin Firth and the young actor, I forget his name, who was Eggsy, their banter with each other was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. I wanted that in this. You don't get almost none.
There's a little bit, but it's different.
So I feel like I've come down hard on it. But if you go in expecting one thing, you're probably going to come out feeling like me. Even though I saw a trailer, I think the trailer also lies, because it gives you all of those action pieces, and that's not what the film is. There's maybe 5, but in amongst that is the story building. I think they expect you to be really emotionally engaged with the characters, but I just wasn't. I don't know if you were. Were you?
I don't know. I think I probably was a little bit more than you.
Okay.
Again, I was just irritated by some of the choices that they made in terms of plot. What are you going to give it?
I don't know. We did, bearing that in mind, we did watch it with a couple of other friends, and my one friend said he was thinking a lot. So I can see that. I'm not sure that he rated the film highly. He won't give it 5 stars, but the young woman with him gave it. Well, she loved it. She said she thought it was brilliant. So totally understanding that it could just be our perception of it. Maybe you'll love it, and it does look fantastic cinematography wise. Vince Vaughn is an amazing director. He directs well. He knows what he wants. In one of the pre bit that we got before the film started, there was a bit where Ralph Fiennes says that Vince Vaughn allowed them to act the moments many times, so that they got the little nuances that you could do each scene slightly differently. So obviously there's a lot of care that's gone into. So it's a well-crafted film, but it just wasn't what I wanted. So I'm gonna give it, I don't know, 3 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
I was going to go with 3 1/4.
Okay. 3 1/4. So yeah, I struggled not to give this a high score, because I know sometimes I can come off going, you just rated too hard. What do you know about making films? And I understand it. It's easy for a person to stand here in front of a camera going, but that's just our opinion at the end of the day. And I've done hundreds of these. We have been involved in filmmaking, and I do this from I'm some dude that is in his 40s talking about a film that he's seen once, knowing that there are thousands of people involved in making this film. So you might love it. I didn't.
Oh, I should add, the score is really good.
The score's excellent.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the score.
Yeah, if I were to rate the score, I'd probably give it 5 Nicolas Cages. Yeah,
the score was great.
The score was very good. All right, guys, maybe I'll like it better the second time. I'm hoping that I will. Sometimes films do that. They tend to be like, I didn't see that before. I didn't quite get what they were trying to do with this. So I probably will watch it again to see. I've seen The Kingsman a number of times. So, yeah, in light of that, do stay as the credits roll, because mostly everybody left, but there is an end credit scene.
There is.
That is quite fun, which could lead to what might happen next if they're going to do more.
Maybe.
Yep. All right. Thanks so much for watching this, guys, but most of all, until next time, remember,
live long and Tuesday.